The Arizona Coyotes win streak might have been over just the other night, but we're going to get to the hockey right back as they are set to face off the New York Rangers. We're going to be talking about that on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast, so be sure to stay locked in.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, the number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I'm your host, Robyn Leonio, alongside Carl Pavlik right beside me. We got a great show for you guys today. I want to once again thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. Like I said, it's a great show. We are on a special Sunday episode. We are talking, getting ready for the Arizona Coyotes versus New York Rangers as a second game of a back-to-back. But I think we can also mention, because it's a back-to-back, we talked a little bit about what happened last night, Carl, because the Coyotes were on a 3-game win streak, and they were going up against the hottest team in the NHL, which was at the time, an 8-game win streak, and now Devils went to a 9-game win streak. Are we surprised that this happened? I mean, like, come on, one streak had to end, and
yes,
if you think of the Coyotes, it'd be the Coyotes. It would have been awesome, but yeah,
So something that I think we've talked about a lot, that it's one of my favorite points to harp on. It really can depend on how the other team plays, determining the outcome, more so than the Coyotes. And I think that there was a chance that the Devils were kind of lulled into that false sense of comfort, thinking that they got this, they're on a hot streak, they could just walk all over the Coyotes. That didn't happen. They stayed engaged the entire game. They played the way they wanted to play. They got back leads as soon as the Coyotes tied things up. It was a great game for the New Jersey Devils. If they had played slightly differently, we may have been talking about something else. But, looking at it on paper, it seemed like this was going to easily be a Devils win. And I do think the Coyotes gave them a little bit of fight.
Oh, we did give him a little bit of fight. There were some players out there who just absolutely look phenomenal. Clayton Keller, and I tweeted it out. Just Clayton Keller cannot be stopped. This dude is just looking on. Clayton Keller and Travis Boyd together. They are they're in the unlikely duo.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think in the past I've joked about Travis Boyd being the Coyotes' number one center, and he pretty much is still. And it's not because he is the most skilled player on the team. It's because he has the best chemistry with Clayton Keller. And sometimes that is more important. Sometimes the better player doesn't fit with the system, with the player, with the line. And it's great to see. It was 5th goal of the season and Boyd's 7th assist. Also, JJ Mosier getting his 7th assist. He seems to also be going hand in hand with Keller, with Boyd, especially on that power play.
Yeah, especially on that power, that power play unit just continues to, be a unit. It's exciting to watch, and I love to see it. We've talked about it before. We talked about it only just recently, right? Talk about how different this power play looks in the past. That they're really gelling together, and it really looks good. And it's funny that we're talking about a lot of these positives despite the loss. And again, like I said at the beginning, this was a team that was going up against the hottest team. And despite that, even though the Coyotes lost, it's like, you know what? Like, yeah, I'll still take this. I'll still draw this up and be like, you know what? Nice effort by Arizona.
Yeah. There's, a lot of silver linings to this game. It is definitely one where the power play showed up really well. Dylan Guenther's goal was also on the power play. So the Yotes were 2 for 4. If we wanted to critique it, we absolutely could. Especially the fact that the New Jersey Devils had 8 power plays in the game. Like
Yep.
that third period was just rough to watch. Coyotes were taking call after call after call. Definitely seemed to be some officiating wanting to make sure the game stays cool, if I can say that.
Right.
But Clayton Keller also broke his own stick on a slashing call with just over 4 minutes left in regulation when you're down by 2. You can't do that kind of thing and expect to win a game.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of those things, a lot of simple mistakes the Coyotes still make that are, reasons why they ended up losing.
They took another too many men on the ice call.
Yeah, just lots of simple mistakes the Coyotes made. So like I said, as much as I've been praising some of the effort that they made, there's still a lot of mistakes, and these are common mistakes that they've been making all season, which is why, like, I'm glad you pointed it out, because I'm just like, to me, these common mistakes, I just like blow by me. I'm just like, yeah, this is typical Coyotes. But you're right. You're 100% right.
I mean, have we ever seen a team take so many too many men on the ice calls as we've seen the Coyotes do in this short amount of time? I think it's like, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm not sure if there's a website that will break down like specific penalties like that and keep track, or if we're going to have to go through, but it feels like 5 or 6 games the Coyotes have been called for too many men on the ice.
It seems like that tracks. Honestly, it seems like that lines up how around where it is. It's just honestly astonishing how they keep doing that.
I mean, I could even be undershooting it. Like, it's possible. It's more. It is definitely happened more times than you would think, and I really don't know how. Like I don't know what's causing this problem. Other than lack of discipline is just kind of a very generic term, but they are messing up line changes and they're taking a very dumb call that they shouldn't. And is it like a coach thing? Is it like an engagement thing? What? Because it's a dark spot that really just stands out looking at the season, because it's something that you get behind in the play, you take a dumb hooking call, you take a trip. That's bad. Don't do that, but it's understandable. Too many men on the ice. Why? Just why?
It's one of those. It's one of those like dumbfounded, just like, wow, how do you keep letting this happen in time? Like, if it's a one-off, like, once every, couple of, but once a month or like twice a month, and like, okay, that's still weird, but it happens. But the fact that it happens is that often, you're right. It is dumbfounding.
Yeah. It's one of those, Bears time in Arizona is still very early. I'm liking a lot of returns, but you're getting a sample size and you're trying to see how that's going to play out in 2 years when the team is better, is more skilled. And if they're still taking that specific penalty, like I said before, it's not a matter of how skilled you are. It's a matter of knowing where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of those things where, I don't know, you're kind of like, Coach, what's the problem here? Have you guys identified the problem? And if so, how are you going to fix it? Because it seems like this one should be, firmly in your spot.
Absolutely. Well, we're talking about in this last segment, we were talking about Arizona Coyotes versus New Jersey Devils, as they took a loss in that game, ending their win streak, but they got a back-to-back. We're going to talk about the Arizona Coyotes versus New York Rangers happening in just a couple of hours from now, from the time that most of you guys will be listening to this. Before we get into any of that, though, I do want to go and just talk about our sponsor from SimpliSafe. thought about securing your home with home security, but have been putting it off, you want to listen up right now. Right now, Locked On Coyotes listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year. You will not want to miss it. And here is why. SimpliSafe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report for a third year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real. So you get the priority police response. With top-rated SimpliSafe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere. Arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust system settings. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. This is their biggest discount of the year, so do not wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There is no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, now let's move on to Arizona Coyotes versus New York Rangers, because that's coming up just in a couple of hours. We're gonna get to that. Carl, this is the second team that they're playing, right? The second time, the second time that they're playing each other.
Yes.
Let's go from some of your memories from the first game and maybe some of the things that the Coyotes can learn from in that loss when we played each other at the Mullet.
So a big thing that it's just been apparent these past few games as well. It was a big issue last season. The third goal is going to be key. The Coyotes weren't able to get it the last time they played. They were staying tough, but then power play goal in the third period, Rangers came up. Coyotes weren't able to defend. And I mean, you look at the Rangers this month, they beat the Flyers 1-0 in overtime. They lost 5-2 to the Bruins. They lost 3-2 in overtime to the Red Wings. They lost 4-3 to the New York Islanders. They beat the Detroit Red Wings 8-2 recently, and they just lost 2-1 to the Nashville Predators. That third goal is also very big for the Rangers as well. So this really does seem like it's going to be a battle of who can get to 3 first.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take a look at exactly how things went at the Mullet, right? And that was a 2-3 score. So that kind of gives you an idea. And it's interesting because you look at how the Coyotes play now. It's definitely feasible that they are able to do it. Based off of the way they've been playing. Obviously, we talked about their mistakes, but they've also been improving a lot, kind of, getting some kind of hot streak mojo, whatever you want to call it, but it works. Something's working for them and might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely seems like a game where you can bounce back, but like we talked about last segment, where the Coyotes also need their opponent to not take them completely seriously. I feel like the Rangers, like they know how close things were last time, and they're gonna do a good job at kind of making sure. Um, Also, like it's not like the Coyotes have consistently been able to get that third goal. Like it could change things if they got it against New Jersey. They didn't need to get it against the Islanders, but it would have been nice if they did. Like it's just so important, and it's such an inconsistent thing. I do kind of wonder like if that's going to be all it takes. Like the first team to get to 3 wins this one.
Yeah, that's a big question. You have to take a look at a lot of different factors of how it's going to go. You're taking a look at some of the players on offense. If there's players you can trust, obviously, yeah, I could put a lot of trust into Clayton Keller to get at least something, something alongside Travis Boyd as well. Are we going to see any more from Dylan Gunther or Matthias Michelli? Are we going to see a good in-net effort from Connor Ingram? Those are the kind of questions you have to ask.
This is going to be a game. Looks like Dyson Mayo is going to be sitting per Craig Morgan. Dolphin is in. How do you feel about the traditional 12-6?
I love the 12-6. It works. It will work a lot. I think it'll definitely work in this case. Plus, like, you don't have to convince me about Laurent Dauphin. I just love this dude. He's just
Yeah.
like he looked great to me even before, in his second stint with the Coyotes, and I'm like, but like still feel like he needed work, and like, but seeing him even more, it's like, seeing some highlights from, a couple games in Tucson and everything. I'm like, you know what? I like this kid. Let's let him have it.
Yeah, definitely. I do kind of think that the Coyotes stayed with the 11-7 for maybe a bit too long. I
Mm-hmm.
understand why they did it. One, their coach is comfortable with it, which honestly, that's reason enough. The coach wants to do it. The coach is going to do it. But they were on the win streak too. You don't necessarily want to mess with something that is working. I think that there was a limit that we saw against the Devils, but I'm also not entirely sure that a different forward system would have changed that too much. Um, I don't know. It does seem like double shifting Clayton Keller is going to get some negative returns, especially because you're taking him off the penalty kill,
Yeah,
which is
you don't want to put
I
too
thought
much
it
work
was
on Clayton Keller,
yeah.
because that's too many minutes on him. It's gonna wear his body out. And last thing we want is for him to get injured again.
Yeah. I mean, especially since he is most of the Coyotes' offense. Uh, so I pulled it up. I have who scored last time. Do you remember
I do not.
who scored? Okay, so Kraus got his third on the power play. His first goal, I believe, that was not an empty netter. Nick Bukestad got his first of the season
That's
as
right.
well.
Yeah.
Gunther and Michelli supported Kraus's goal, and Keller and Gunther for Bukestad. So it was a multi-point game for Gunther.
Multi-point game for Gunther, and just another good effort too on that game from Matias Michelli. Right, we've talked, like obviously you've talked about Matias Michelli a lot more than I have, and how much you like this kid. I think now I think someone said it on Twitter, and I'm like, I wholeheartedly agree with it. Is like, I think we're eventually going to get to the point when Matias Michelli is going to start capturing the attention of the national media, because this kid is actually really putting in a good effort and really putting in solid performance. Enough so that, like, obvious, I made somewhat of a joke about it, but maybe if he keeps it up, you might not be a joke in the hashtag Michelli for Calder, because he's just doing something right.
He is. I was that Todd Walsh on Twitter who recently said something about it.
I'm trying to remember who it was, but
It
could have
was
been Todd
definitely
Walsh.
someone like familiar with the Coyotes organization. And I
It
don't
was Matthew
necessarily
McConnell.
Matthew McConnell. I was like, it's 50-50. It's one of those two.
Right.
But um, I do kind of wonder. Like I said, Michelli was a secondary assist in that game on the power play. Um, I think there's a reason he hasn't gotten as much attention yet, especially since national media really likes to talk about goals, especially for forwards. He's not
Mm-hmm.
there yet, but that he's putting in so much work. Like you expect him to get rewarded more as the season goes on. I don't know if he's a Calder person yet, if he's even close to that conversation, but it's definitely nice to see him developed in such a way. I was always kind of worried about him. And I think, looking back, I was maybe a little bit underwhelmed of his last year. Don't remember too much with him at the Coyotes, but he's just been phenomenal to start.
Oh, absolutely. Right. You just gotta keep seeing consistently him put in this effort, and see him, and then eventually things will go even more right for him, rather than just getting the assist, rather than just being in the right places to set things up. And just have that overall presence to eventually turning into getting those goals. I mean, I think he has like what, one or two, maybe one.
I know it. I know one. I think. Yeah, he has 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points in 14 games. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. So if you're a listener of this podcast and you're not a Coyotes fan, and or you just listen to the show to kind of pay attention to, now you know. Pay attention to Matias Michelli. He eventually will be someone that you want to be really, really pay attention to.
So I have his stats page pulled up, and 7 of his 10 total points are on the power play, including his goal. So that could be one of the reasons why he's not getting noticed yet. But you know, nothing wrong with having a guy who's really good on the power play, especially
Right?
when you're a team
Yeah.
like Arizona, where that's all you're getting your offense from.
Exactly. That's all the focus, and that's all the things that it's awesome to see. So I definitely want to see more from Michelli, and hoping he can be an impact in the game tonight. But we'll get to that in just a moment as we get to our BetOnline picks of the game. And speaking of BetOnline, I'm gonna turn the call for a quick word.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about BetOnline. But did you know that betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis? It's where you can get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports and hockey, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can get those on BetOnline as well. It is the fastest and easiest way to get all your betting information. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts.
So now let's move over to BetOnline as we get to the picks of the game, Carl, as we get ready for Arizona Coyotes versus New York Rangers. That
Tell me
game
some
set
numbers.
for just a couple hours from now, and the sportsbook numbers is loading. Give me just about 2 seconds, as the Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs at +135, +322. If you bet on them on the money line, -370 for the New York Rangers. Total points is set at 6.5.
Yeah. I mean, considering, like I said, these are two teams that very recently have struggled to score the third goal. I'm tempted to bet under, but the Rangers did have that 8-2 win over the Detroit Red Wings, who are a better team than the Coyotes. So it's definitely one of those things where I'm just like, not sure. I'm sticking with the under though. I think this one is going to be 3-2 Rangers shootout.
In the shootout. Wow, you're going that far. I love it though. I absolutely love it. I feel like this is one of the games that can oddly break the trend of what you saw with the whole 3 game thing, the 3 goal situation, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I'm going to think this game is going to end up going over. And seeing how that's going to work. Just because, hockey's weird, right? We talked about that.
Hockey's weird, yes.
It is weird. I love it though. But I do believe the Coyotes will cover this game. I'm going to give it a 4-3 final score. Rangers win in overtime.
Overtime? Okay. 4-3. Does that change how you think of Connor Ingram? Because he is coming into this game a mixed bag. When the Coyotes picked him up, he had a lot of buzz. But a loss like that, does that make you feel better about Ingram's time with the Coyotes? Does it make you feel worse? What about that?
I think it's still real. I'm still really on the fence with Connor Ingram. Like, I think he still has his best ahead of him, and I still think we've yet to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this game is going to be his best. I do think, though, we will see a decent amount of effort from him, enough to kind of be like, okay, I feel like he's trending in the right direction, but still has a lot of ways to go. And I don't think the 4 against is really even going to be that bad again, that much of a knock against them. I feel like, just the Rangers are just the overall better team. And I think it's just going to show that, it's just going to not have not as many, there's going to be too many high danger chances against them. And it's just going to, unfortunately just not go his way. And it tends to happen with Coyotes goalies, and we're just going to see that again tonight. So I think that this is going to be a game where you kind of see things trend in the right direction for him, but it's just not. But bounces aren't going to go his way.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like some of the games he's lost, especially some of the bad losses, like the team in front of him is not coming out to protect him enough. Their play in front of him is sloppy. Like, what was the some of the goals that he has been in net for, you cannot blame him entirely for. But I do think that is one of those things where, like, if the team in front of him is not comfortable, like, that's going to make them play worse. That's going to make them less comfortable in front of Connor Ingram. So I'm potentially worried about him getting in like a loop. But he needs to play games. Like, Vejmelka started the past 3 straight, 4 straight,
Something like that, yeah.
And including a game last night against the Devils where he definitely faced quite a few goals. So yeah, I think you got to give Ingram the start. One thing we didn't mention is the Rangers also played last night in Nashville, so the Coyotes didn't even have to travel really. Jersey, New York, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, they're just just crossing the river, but pretty much that's all it is.
I am from Western New York, so I'm allowed to say that New York and New Jersey are the same thing. California, you're less allowed to say that. Just joking.
Sure.
I'm gonna let my East Coast bias out for a bit, and yeah.
Just don't let anyone from Manhattan hear that.
This is true. I'm from the part of New York State where if people in New York City were like, it's not even the same world. It's an 8-hour drive.
Gotta love it, though. Gotta love it. Any final thoughts you want to share before we close things off in this episode?
This is an interesting game, and I am more concerned with how the Coyotes play than the results. Like, I want to see them after a bad game, especially a back-to-back. Like, how do they respond? And that, to me, like you said, Rangers are the better team. The Coyotes' response is the most important thing.
Absolutely. It's gonna be really important to see how they do it, and to kind of give us an understanding of where they are at. Like, obviously we know the Coyotes are rebuilding, but still, like, they could surprise us like they have in the 3-game win streak. But we'll see. We will see what happens. But that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. I want to thank everyone once again for making this show your first listen today. For your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today is available on this app, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. But right here on Locked On Coyotes, if you like what you heard here, don't forget to leave a review, to like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. This is also available wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.